rise. Charles, will you please lead us in prayer?
Sure. And maybe just preface the prayer. The mayor made a suggestion. I completely agree. Just a moment of silence in memory of Greg Stubbs, longtime city employee, and for other people as well who are struggling with these strange and troubling times that we're all trying to get through. So we'll just have a moment of silence, and then I'll end that with the implication for the meeting. God, we acknowledge the contributions and the life that Rick Stubbs led. We remember others in the community who are suffering for all sorts of reasons, but because of the pandemic and the complications and the compounding effect it has had on so many people. We just ask for clarity and guidance. We're thankful for those who work so hard and diligently to make this a good community and a good area in which to live. Ask for guidance and just acknowledge that we have so much going for us here and so much to be grateful for. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. On to you, Dr. Cotter.
We've already had our roll call for the evening prior to the closed session. So the first item is the consent agenda.
I move we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
The next item on the agenda is recognition of guests, and that has been removed from the agenda. So the next item, item 7, reading of the bills. Bill 4689 to become ordinance 4689, second reading. An ordinance to authorize the mayor to execute a municipal agreement between the city of West Plains, Missouri and the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission, providing for the pavement, cold milling, and resurfacing of Route Business 63.
I move we approve Bill 4689 to become ordinance 4689, second reading.
Second.
Have we had any public input?
No, sir. Nothing has changed from the agreement that was originally presented to you last month. So just as a quick recap, this agreement's required by the state anytime they do work on their infrastructure within the city limits. They like to enter an agreement with the city to outline the terms of that. So.
All right. You need more discussion? Anya?
Bill 4689 to become ordinance 4689, second reading. Neese,
Yes.
Cotter,
Yes.
Merle,
Yes.
Neeson,
Yes.
Tupper.
Yes.
Bill 4690 to become ordinance 4690, second reading. An ordinance providing for the levying and collection of a tax for the general revenue fund within the city of West Plains, Missouri for the year 2021 upon all real, personal, and mixed property within the corporate limits of the city of West Plains, Missouri, subject to taxation.
Move to approve Bill 4690 to become ordinance 4690, second reading.
Second.
Did we,
Yeah, if Arlene wants to come up and
Erling,
give a
if you
quick
want to
summary.
refresh everyone?
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Really quick recap, we are reducing our mill levy by 2.8% because the assessed valuations for the city have gone up by approximately 7.5%. So in order to offset the assessed valuation increase that is more than what is allowed by law, we're reducing the property tax mill levy. The amount of money that we can expect is about $538,000.
Any other discussion? Thank you. Tanya?
Bill 4690 to become ordinance 4690, second reading. Nice,
Yes.
Cotter,
Yes.
Merle,
Yes.
Mason,
Yes.
Toplet.
Yes.
Bill 4691 to become ordinance 4691, first reading, an ordinance prohibiting the parking of motor vehicles on Allen Street from East Olden to the north 450 feet.
I move to approve Bill 4691 to become ordinance 4691, first reading.
Do we have any input on this, Sam?
Brian, if you'd like to come up and maybe speak briefly on this topic.
Yeah, if some of you probably remember a few years ago, we did this on North College Street. We went 450 feet. We did it on Davidson Street. We originally did it on Howell Avenue in Olden with parking and issues and things around the school. Then from the first section, then it went to Davidson and Olden. At the time, Allen Street was not an issue and this is on the south end, what would be towards the middle school. We did do this on the north end by the elementary school, but we had trouble with kids and just parents parking there for hours or whatever, taking in front of, people's houses and things like that, parking in driveways and just blocking things up. So anyway, at the time, Allen Street was not an issue. Since then, last year, because the middle school, they changed their parent pickup and drop off to try and get it off the street and try and make it safer for the kids. And so this just kind of matches with that. And it's just during school hours when children are present. In the evenings, weekends, people can still park in front of their house. So when they come home at night from work, they can still utilize that same as everything.
So you have proper signage up there that says when parking is allowed, when it's not
Yes,
allowed?
sir.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got that on all of it in it, and it states no parking, and then it gives time frame on that.
Any other discussion? Tanya?
Bill 4691 to become ordinance 4691, first reading. Nice,
Yes.
Cotter,
Yes.
Merle,
Yes.
Mason,
Yes.
Toplet.
Yes.
Bill 4692 to become ordinance 4692, first reading, an ordinance of the City of West Plains, Missouri to amend and replace the following three existing sections of the city code. Chapter 44, Section 44-64, duty to maintain financial responsibility. Section 44-78, stop for school bus. And Section 44-132, slow speed impeding traffic.
Move Bill 4692 to become ordinance 4692, first reading.
Second?
Hi, Chief.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. These three ordinances are, again, revisions to our current ordinances to match state law. So there were some slight changes in the state law. So to keep consistent with our city ordinances, the revisions were requested. So I highlighted those in the documentation if you wanted to know what the changes were, but nothing that's a major issue.
Any additional questions for the chief?
Just an observation, Chief, we've seen young adults with their little scooters, electric scooters around town. And there's been several close misses or close calls where close to where I live around the park. And you'll see these guys, most of them are male, around the park at nighttime after the lights have gone out. And someone's going to get hurt. I don't know what our codes call for. I know MoDOT has certain restrictions not there in the court, around Court Square and downtown central business districts. You're not supposed to have skateboards and bicycles on
Correct.
sidewalks. What can we do to protect these people out in the community?
Well, and we made a revision, I believe, last year on those to cover the electric scooters. So they have to keep them off the sidewalks And it's specified in that ordinance that was revised, I believe, early last year. Right around the Christmas time, I guess some people got some electric scooters, and there really wasn't anything that we had on the books. So we revised that ordinance to cover those as well.
Okay. So just hope it doesn't happen. They're wearing dark clothes on a dark street. You cannot see them. Thanks, Chief.
All right. Thank you, Chief. Tanya?
Bill 4692 to become ordinance 4692. First reading. Neese,
Yes.
Potter,
Yes.
Murrell,
Yes.
Neeson,
Yes.
Toppler.
Yes.
Bill 4693 to become ordinance 4693, first reading, an ordinance to authorize the mayor to execute the agreement between Show Me Power Electric Cooperative and the city of West Plains, Missouri.
Make a motion, Bill 4693 to become ordinance 4693, first reading.
Second.
So show me I knew it'd be you, Jeff.
Yeah. Okay, so this is a new contract that we've negotiated with Show Me. Our current contract is just in perpetuity, provided both parties agreed to it. This new contract will be a 20-year contract with two 5-year extensions on it, which would make it a total of a 30-year contract in total. Some of the other highlights that are in this contract is it clarifies that we are getting a facility charge and a backup power supply charge, with those two charges being $143,000 once we build and connect to West Plains number 3 substation, which is Show Me substation that's located south of Walmart on 160. So, which is in close proximity to the potential site of the Southern Hills substation that we've already planned for. The other major highlight from this contract is that in the beginning, it will be a $575,000 a year savings. And then with the addition of the line connection to the West Plains 3 would be $600,000 a year savings going forward. So
Total or combined?
no, it would change to $600,000 a year. So
Explain how we get a savings out of that, if you would.
because currently right now you're paying $750,000 on average to Show Me every year.
For transportation fee on the lines.
Yes, that's our wheeling charge for power coming into the city of West Plains. Once you get this contract and you agree to this contract, you will only be charged $143,000 a year for the same service.
How is that done? I'm not challenging you. Please don't
Yeah.
misinterpret my question.
So-
are we providing more power to that?
No,
To the
it's
overall-
the connection at the substation. That's that facility charge. Is what they're calling the facility charge.
I
That,
never have understood that, but I don't have anything against it.
yeah.
How does this affect the project where we were putting up our own transmission lines?
It doesn't affect the project except well, there's two projects. So we were talking about putting a 161 kV to 69 kV substation east of town. That was estimated to be about 16.3 million, I think is what the number was, to install that substation. By entering into this agreement, then we would not go forward with that, trying to get the other substation, because it will still meet our criteria that we need to interconnect with Associated and Show Me at this new location. It provides us some reliability, especially on that southern end of town, where we wouldn't have that before with the just extending the transmission line out to the Southern Hills substation. It would be kind of like a radial line and would just be out there. And if anything happened to the transmission line between Southern Hills substation and Lanton substation, then it would just be out of power. And that our most used shopping district would be out of power until we got it restored. So by providing this connection into West Plains 3, you provide some reliability. So therefore it provides some redundancy into the system. So
What about the existing, poles and stuff we already, we bought, out there at the.
right. So we'll still be using, we still have to use
Still,
that
okay.
line. That line won't change in any
Okay.
design. You're just adding to it. And that addition is estimated to be right around $600,000 to get from the Southern Hills substation location to this West Plains number 3.
Okay.
So,
I just wanted to see how it tied into the
Sure.
projects we kind of already had going and.
Yeah.
And everything, but
Yeah.
$500,000 savings.
every year, every year that $600,000 savings is,
Yeah.
it really is a huge win for us. It's a huge win for Missouri Public Utility Alliance, as there will be other cities that will be affected by this agreement. So,
Okay, good. Any other questions? Tanya? Thank you,
Bill.
Jeff.
Bill 4693 to become ordinance 4693, first reading. Neese,
Yes.
Cotter,
Yes.
Merle,
Yes.
Neeson,
Yes.
Toppler.
Yes.
Bill 1144 to become Resolution 1144, a resolution authorizing the mayor to approve a service contract with Burns and McDonnell Engineering Company Incorporated for the capital outlay budget allocation for year 1 of a 4-year wastewater collection system assessment and planning program.
Make a motion, Bill 1144 to become Resolution 1144.
Second.
Jeff, we'll get you
got it
again.
again, huh? Okay, so this is an agreement that we would be entering into with Burns and McDonnell on engineering for our sewer lines. For many years, West Plains has been working with a company called Visi Sewer. They've come in and they put in cured in place pipe, or CIPP. So there's been that, and they've been videoing some of our sewer lines, checking the grade of our manholes. When we had Burns McDonnell come in and do the study on the wastewater treatment plant, in conjunction with that was a flow analysis that they done, because they needed to know what was coming to the plant. When they did that, they took our existing GIS model and they started reviewing it. And there are sections in our GIS model that are not connected to other sewer lines. They call them pipe islands. They're not technically a pipe island, but in GIS, that's what it looks like. So this will update our GIS system. The other thing that flow analysis told us was that 40% of our inflows are coming from one basin out of the 6 basins that they used. So by going out and capturing this information and grading those lines and manholes, we'll be able to find out where that infiltration is happening at specifically. Once we gathered all this information, we'll be able to put it into our GIS system. And then from there, we'll be able to reference that for very many years to come of what projects need to be repaired or replacement, more than likely a 10-year period.
So what basins are the 2 most infiltrated?
The one basin based off of that they had was basin number 2. Basin number 2 would be like the numbered streets area, Broadway, First Street, your house.
The older part of town, obviously.
Yeah, it's some of the older parts of
Yeah.
town. Now, we're also getting infiltration, we know, from other parts in town, but the majority of it is this older part of town where there's clay pipe, in the ground. And the service lines, there's a service line that they call Orangeburg pipe that decays, which is mostly down in that older part of town. So, but this way we'll be able to monitor all that. So
I guess I need to put an outhouse in.
maybe.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah, but I control myself. It's a rarity, but it's Tanya. Thanks, Jeff. I think we're done with this, Jeff.
Oh, it's a resolution.
Oh, it's resolution.
Yeah.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Okay, Mr. Shipley.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Okay, I've got 4 items this evening. The first item is contracted labor for a 3-phase distribution line to be built from airport substation to the solar farm. This is for labor only. The material for this project has either been bought already or it's ordered. So again, this is just for labor. We had 3 bidders submit proposals, and the low bid is Kiowa Line Builders, and Toth and Associates has reviewed the documents, and they do recommend Kiowa Line Builders in the amount of $304,158.30. As you can see, Jeff does have money earmarked for this. $700,000, I believe, is what is in his capital outlay budget to pay for this.
Make a motion that we approve the bid of Kiowa Line Builders Incorporated for $304,158.30 for 3-phase distribution line construction for the solar farm.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right.
Okay, next item is a new host server for the IT department. In the discussion on the executive summary, with the city expanding the services that IT supports with centralized SCADA, workflow management, and adding redundancy to the AMI systems, we are needing additional processing power. It says we are also trying to lighten the burden on our first host, which is deployed in the summer of 2015. I have 3 bidders, SHI, Connection, and Enterprise, HP Enterprise. The low bid on the server with shipping is SHI at $65,011.
Make a motion that we approve the bid of SHI for $65,011 for a new host server for the IT department.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Okay.
Here we go. One of my favorites.
This is ERTs for inventory. We're just replenishing stock. This is for 600 ERTs. With shipping, United Systems has sent me a bid of $48,300.
It seems weird making a motion for ERTs because we always let the mayor, before he was elevated to his current position. So where he can't.
I just
So
like saying hurts.
you got to say it. There you go. I make a motion that we approve the bid of United Systems of Benton, Kentucky for $48,300 for ERTs for inventory.
Second.
Any discussion on ERTs? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, passed.
Okay, the last bid item I have, this is for a new utility tractor for transportation department. But I am asking not to move forward with this.
Okay.
The reason why Brian's intentions originally were to purchase a utility tractor, and then later on, as he sold some equipment, purchase a mid-mount boom rotary cutter for the tractor that we purchased. Okay, we did take bids. As you can see, we got 3 there. But the problem we are figuring out now is we've only found about 4 main vendors that build these rotary cutters. And not every vendor can work with every tractor. We haven't found a vendor yet that can work with the Coyote, which is Lynch Equipment. We have a couple that can work with a Kubota, and then some of them can work with a John Deere or a Massey Ferguson. So the challenge we have here is if we purchase a tractor, we need to make sure we can get a mower that will work. What we would like to do is come back later with a combo unit, tractor and cutter, so we know that the cutter will work with the tractor. And when it arrives at the city of West Plains, if approved, the cutter would already be mounted to it. We would also put in some pieces of equipment, some tractors that Brian would like to trade, and have them take the trade as well. That is what our goal is at this time.
So I would make a motion that we reject all bids and allow this to be rebid as a total package.
Yes.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
There we go, Tanya.
Okay, I have a truck that I would like to be deemed surplus property to sell. It is from the Transportation Department. It is a 2007 International Workstar with a Timco 600 sweeper. We would like to sell this piece of equipment.
Would make a motion that we approve the surplus property to sell as presented.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right. Thank you, Jeff.
Our final item tonight is the administrator's report.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Just a few items for you this evening. Previously, council had authorized our tourism director and our civic center director to enter into agreements with entertainment acts for acts to be held at the civic center or elsewhere. So in response to that resolution, I asked our finance director and our community services director to put together a policy because in many cases, the value of those contracts exceed our purchasing policy that had been previously approved by council in February. So in order to make sure that we're hitting our schedules and can negotiate properly with these potential entertainment vendors, we put together this policy and wanted to have an opportunity for council to review that, make any comments, make any suggestions on ways to improve that before we actually adopt this policy internally. So that is I've given you a copy of the policy here for your review. So if you have any questions, be happy to answer those or go from there.
I think I had mentioned to Sam that I believe our current purchasing policy is at 50,000 is the limit.
25,000.
25. So going from 25 to 100, what I was recommending was that we added, because I think this is a great policy, by the way, and I think it is absolutely necessary to be able to attract talent and all of those things. But I do think that in my opinion, there should be some sort of elected stamp on it. And so because of the charter giving the mayor executive authority, I was just recommending that it also have to be approved by the mayor, not the entire council, but the mayor. So that was my suggestion.
I think that makes sense.
Sam, how does this, I think I understand, how does this change, how does this differ from our procurement when we have the 10,000 and 25, where we have to go out for bids? How does that?
You can't really go out for bid, and I've got Aaron in the crowd as well as Todd to help address any more specific questions. But sometimes we just are approached by entertainers as they're making their way from city A to city B. If they want to add a stopover in West Plains, it's difficult to bid that type of work out. So in many cases, they reach out to us and say, hey, we'd like to come play at the Civic Center. It's going to cost you X amount of dollars. Erin does her analysis to figure out if it's going to be a good deal for the city. If it is, then we would perhaps entertain that agreement. The problem is a lot of those entertainment contracts will exceed the amount that's set in the purchasing policies. So, currently anything between $10,000 and $25,000, that's within the budget. I can sign that. Anything over $25,000 requires council approval. And in many cases, those entertainers are not going to wait for 3 or 4 weeks to have council approve an entertainment act. So that was kind of the genesis behind the policy. So once that policy is put into place, then with Councilman Cotter's suggestions, Erin or her staff would reach out, or Melissa, and say, hey, we have this opportunity, as long as it's within budget, as long as it's under $100,000, which I can't imagine, we would attract an act that's, over $100,000. So that was really just kind of the cap on what we would propose. So the thought then was, okay, city administrator and the mayor can approve that. and we're going to stay within our budget. Obviously, we don't want to go over what we have budgeted. So if we just have a very good year where there are a lot of entertainment acts, we would need to come back to council at that point and say, hey, we've met our budget for hosting events, and so we need to come to council for approval.
When we do host events, would profits go back into that operational budget to keep it sustainable? In other words, do we max out and then we can't hold anymore? Or is that money rotate back in?
That's a question that I'll have to defer to either Aaron or Todd, how that works from a budget perspective.
Hello.
Aaron.
So the way that it's going to work, so whenever I do as what was referred to as a budget analysis, so a lot of the way it works, so I'll pick an even number, $50,000 for an act. That'll get you your mid-level act. That's just the guarantee. And so a lot of the way the acts work is you have a guarantee versus. And so they are guaranteed if they show up night of, whether or not you sell 1 tickets or you sell the house out, they're going to walk away with $50,000. However, the goal is that we are able to then replenish the fund. So when I do my analysis, we're going to say we're trying to bring someone in, we think it's going to sell out, how we break down the price point. The versus is a lot of them is like 75 to 80%. They're going to take that portion of the gate. And so they'll take that, and then based off of the rest of that 15% should then go back in and replenish the pot. And so it should be self-sustaining, but of course not every show is going to be a sellout. Not every show is going to sell. And that's what we're running into now, like with, and a lot of venues is, the unknowns of COVID, but in a ideal world, we're going to be very fiscally responsible with taxpayer dollars and making sure that it is something that we feel would at least break even. And what I do is when I do my analysis, I know exactly how many tickets I need to sell when I take out the expense of EMT, police, paying stagehands, paying concessionaires, what we need to sell to break even. Does that answer the question?
Sure does. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else?
Now, is this fund in the tourism money or just as operating at the Civic Center operating fund?
This money that we are going out with is the tourism.
Okay.
But it's conceivable that there could be a budget item down the road that was a Civic Center entertainment budget.
I like to dream.
Yeah, let it grow. Let it grow. Okay.
Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thanks, Sam.
Yep.
Thank you,
Um,
Aaron.
next item on my list. So I guess I don't think a vote is necessary if the consensus of the council is to go ahead and add the mayor as a signatory on any type of those agreements that would exceed that amount above and beyond my authority, then we would go ahead and do that. So great. Thank you. Next item is review of monthly expenditures. I had reached out to you last week to indicate that some of the items that had been on our agenda in previous meetings are no longer required for council to vote on when it comes to monthly expenditures and payroll. That was, I believe, as Charles indicated, a pre-charter requirement, and just they happened to stay on the agendas after the charter was approved. I'm a big fan of transparency, so I had conversations with our finance director, and a lot of cities put their actual monthly expenditures online on their website. The issue with our website is once that item shows up on a council meeting agenda, once we put a new council agenda on the website, all that information disappears. And so we've created a web page that's under the Administration and Finance Department's webpage on our site to actually have that information. So we'll have a historical reference point for council members and for members of the public to be able to go back and say, hey, how much did we spend that month on this contract or whatnot? So we are in the process of getting that web page populated with the data. We want to make sure that all the information that we do share to residents protects personally identifiable information. So we're going to strip some of that data down that is not necessarily subject to public disclosure, and then we'll get that up. Our goal is to probably have that website populated before the end of this month, so that next month council members will be able to have that opportunity to review those types of expenditures. We weren't quite able to hit today's deadline, so I do apologize for that, but we do want to make sure that we're protecting all the information that needs to be protected before we put that out there for what could conceivably be forever. So So anyway, we will work towards accomplishing that. And you'll have that information moving forward. We would then have this opportunity, this line item as an opportunity for questions from council members if they had any comments to make on any of the expenditures. A lot of these have already been made. They've already been budgeted. The budget was approved by council. So we aren't going to go too far out of that box, without getting into trouble. So that's what I have regarding the monthly expenditure review. And then finally, just a few project updates. Obviously, Transportation Director mentioned it earlier. We're back to school now, so lots of kids are going to be out on the streets. So please be mindful. Our vehicle pedestrians, as they're out driving their cars, be mindful of the children who are out there. We've assigned our school resource officers to each of the schools here in the West Plains District, and so again, just be careful with that. We are paving this week at Galloway Park. So after a bit of a rain delay last week, this is pretty much the last week they can get out there and do it. So we've been assured that they will be out there to pave those trails at Galloway. So that work will happen this week. And then finally, some residents may or may not know, we've got a solar eclipse coming to West Plains in April of 2024. So Melissa Wharton, our tourism director, has put together a task force committee to be able to plan for that event. If you were here in 2017, when there was a little bit of an eclipse that we got to see here in the West Plains community, it can attract some tourists. So we want to be prepared for all of the visitors who are going to be coming to West Plains in about 3 years' time. So that task force meeting, I think their first meeting is tomorrow, and then we'll be able to provide regular updates to the council members and to the public through the update that I give to you all each week. So excited about that opportunity. I told Melissa to order the glasses now because they will run out of supply soon. So that's all I have for you this evening.
Well, no other business.